While the world is busy teaching kids how to be seen, the families who have held influence for generations are teaching their children how to see. What if the secret to raising truly successful children isn't about giving them more, but about teaching them the power of quiet strength? Forget trust funds and inherited estates for a moment. We're talking about an inheritance of character. It's a philosophy that has quietly shaped leaders, innovators, and stewards for centuries, far from the noise of social media and the hunger for public validation. This is the world of soft power, a set of parenting rules built on discipline, emotional poise, and a profound sense of duty. These families understand a truth that modern culture often forgets. What you build inside a child is infinitely more valuable than anything you can give them. It's the internal architecture of resilience, grace, and wisdom that allows them to navigate the world with a calm confidence that simply can't be bought. Today, we're opening the playbook. We're not just talking about vague principles, we're giving you the exact scripts, the daily habits, and the foundational rules that old money families use to shape the future. These aren't secrets for the wealthy, they're timeless lessons for the wise. And they start with a simple, counterintuitive idea. Rule number 1. Discipline is freedom, not restriction. The first and most foundational rule is one that modern parenting often gets backwards. It's the belief that discipline, when it's rooted in love and consistency, is the ultimate form of freedom. The philosophy. In many modern homes, discipline feels like a negative, a series of no's and punishments meant to curb a child's spirit. It's reactive, emotional, and frankly, inconsistent. The old money philosophy flips this entirely. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about predictability. It's the architecture of a child's world, giving them the walls and beams they need to safely explore, create, and grow. This structure isn't meant to kill joy, it's designed to create the conditions for it to flourish. A child who knows the rules, who understands the clear and predictable outcomes of their actions, isn't living in a constant state of anxiety, always testing boundaries to see where they are. They are free from the chaos of uncertainty. This structured world, with its clear expectations for manners, chores, and behavior, is the bedrock of emotional security. It teaches a child that life isn't random or subject to the fleeting moods of their parents, building a deep internal sense of safety. The philosophy is simple. Restricting impulse leads to freedom of action. A child who learns to control their immediate desires can work towards long-term goals. A child who understands social grace is free to navigate any room with any person without feeling like an imposter. Discipline isn't a cage, it's the key that unlocks a much larger world. The modern contrast. Contrast this with the permissive parenting styles popular today, where a child's every whim is catered to in the name of self-esteem. This approach, ironically, often creates anxious and indecisive adults. When a child is the center of their own little universe, they grow up expecting the world to revolve around them, a belief that reality corrects swiftly and often painfully. Worse, a lack of firm boundaries teaches children that their feelings are the ultimate authority. They makes them fragile, unable to cope when the world doesn't bend to their emotional state. They become adults who constantly seek validation, who crumble at the first sign of criticism, and who lack the inner strength to push through difficulty. They've been given the freedom of impulse, but they've been robbed of the freedom of resilience. So, how do you do it? It's not about becoming a drill sergeant, it's about quiet consistency. 1. Establish non-negotiable household standards. These are your core rules of respect, kindness, and responsibility. Keep them few, clear, and enforce them every single time. It could be as simple as, we speak to each other with respect, we clean up our own messes, and we are honest. 2. Create rhythms and routines. Old money households run on schedules. Meal times, bedtimes, homework times. These aren't suggestions. This predictable rhythm provides order and security, minimizing daily power struggles because this is just what we do. 3. Consequences are natural, not punitive. When a rule is broken, the consequence should be a lesson, not a penalty. If a child makes a mess, they clean it up. If they speak disrespectfully, they're asked to leave the conversation until they can be courteous. The parent's tone stays calm and matter-of-fact. This isn't about anger, it's about upholding the standard. The scripts. Your language is everything. It must be calm, firm, and respectful. You validate the child's feelings, but not their behavior. When a child is demanding something, instead of "Stop whining, I said no," try this. "I understand you're frustrated, you can't have that. However, the answer is no. We don't always get what we want." This teaches dignity before desire. When a chore is left undone, instead of "How many times do I have to tell you to clean your room?" try this. "Your responsibility was to tidy your books. That needs to be done before you can play. Let me know if you need help getting started." This frames it as their responsibility, not a personal favor to you. When they're disrespectful, instead of "Don't you dare talk to me like that," try this. "That tone isn't acceptable in this family. We speak to each other with respect. Please take a moment and we can continue this conversation when you're ready to speak calmly." This separates the child from the behavior and upholds the family standard without shame. The long-term outcome. Kids raised with this kind of loving discipline become adults with a powerful internal locus of control. They don't look to others for direction or validation. They have self-discipline, resilience, and a quiet confidence that comes from knowing they can manage themselves. They've been given the freedom that matters most, freedom from their own worst impulses. Rule number 2. Emotions are information, not an identity. Rule number 2 governs a child's inner world, teaching them one of the most powerful skills for lifelong success: emotional poise. The philosophy. In the old money tradition, emotional control is the highest form of intelligence. This isn't about suppressing feelings or raising a cold, unfeeling child. It's the exact opposite. It's about teaching a child to channel their emotions intelligently. The philosophy is that feelings, anger, sadness, jealousy, are simply data. They're information about an unmet need, a crossed boundary, or a disappointment. The goal is to teach a child to pause, identify the emotion, and then choose a constructive response, rather than getting hijacked by the feeling itself. In this context, manners aren't just about which fork to use. They're a form of self-command. Treating everyone with civility, from a CEO to a gardener, is a reflection of your internal standards, not theirs. This builds an unshakable poise. When you aren't a slave to your own reactions, you can navigate any social or professional situation with grace. You remain in control of yourself, even when you can't control the circumstances. This is where true power lies, not in dominating a room, but in remaining composed within it. The modern contrast. Modern culture often encourages the opposite. We're told to feel our feelings in a way that often means perform our feelings. Outbursts are framed as authenticity. Public displays of emotion are seen as brave. A child's tantrum is often met with frantic negotiation, teaching them that their emotional state has the power to manipulate their environment. This creates adults who are emotionally fragile. Their identity gets fused with their feelings. "I am angry" replaces "I feel angry." They believe their emotional state is a mandate for action, leading to impulsive decisions, broken relationships, and professional instability. They lack the emotional armor needed to withstand criticism or endure disappointment without collapsing. They are powerful in their expression, but powerless in their regulation. So, the practical application. Teaching emotional poise is a daily practice, modeled by you. 1. Name it to tame it. When a child is emotional, help them find the words. Go beyond sad or mad. Are they disappointed, embarrassed, frustrated? Giving the feeling a precise name separates the child from the emotion and turns it into something they can examine. 2. Pause and inquire, don't immediately fix. When a toy breaks or a friend is unkind, resist the urge to jump in and solve it. Instead of, don't cry, try asking, how do you think you should handle this? This signals that you believe they are capable of managing the situation. 3. Model composure. Kids learn emotional regulation by watching you. When you get frustrated, do you yell? Or do you take a breath and speak calmly? They will mirror your behavior far more than they'll listen to your lectures. 4. Practice constructive expression. Teach them appropriate outlets for strong feelings, like writing in a journal, taking a walk, or talking it through calmly after the initial peak has passed. The rule is simple. You can feel anything, but you can't do anything. Your behavior must stay within the bounds of respect. The scripts. The language here is about inquiry and empowerment, not dismissal. When a child is melting down over a small issue, instead of, you're overreacting, it's not a big deal, try, I can see you're having a very big feeling right now. Let's take a breath together. When you're calm, we can talk about what happened. This validates the feeling's intensity without validating the out-of-control behavior. When they are angry at someone, instead of, don't be mean to your brother, try, it sounds like you're angry because he took your toy. It's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to hit. What's a better way you could have handled that? This separates the emotion, acceptable, from the action, unacceptable. When they are disappointed. Instead of, don't be sad, we can do it another time. Try this. I know you were looking forward to the park, and it's disappointing that it's raining. It's okay to feel let down. What's our plan B? This acknowledges the disappointment without letting it derail the day, teaching resilience. The long-term outcome. Children raised this way become adults who are masters of themselves. They aren't cold, they're emotionally intelligent. They can handle high-pressure meetings, difficult personal news, and public criticism with a calmness that others find magnetic. This composure is often mistaken for arrogance, but it's not. It's mastery. They understand that the space between a feeling and a reaction is where power is forged. Rule number 3. The rhythm of routine is the foundation of security. The third rule might seem boring, but it's one of the most potent tools for building a grounded, confident child, an unwavering commitment to routine. The philosophy. In an old money household, structure is a form of love. Life is inherently chaotic, and for a child, that chaos can feel terrifying. A consistent, predictable environment acts as an anchor, providing a deep and lasting sense of emotional security. Meals happen at set times. Bedtime is a non-negotiable ritual. Chores are done at the same time each week. This rhythmic quality of life does something profound for a child's developing mind. It teaches them that their world is fundamentally safe and orderly. They know what to expect. They aren't living in a state of constant flux, dependent on the whims and moods of the adults around them. This philosophy holds that confidence isn't born from constant excitement and novelty. It's born from calm repetition. When the basic scaffolding of a child's day is secure, their minds are free to focus on higher-level tasks like learning, creating, and exploring. A parent who enforces a strict bedtime isn't just managing sleep, they're building the foundation for a stable, self-regulated adult. As the old money saying goes, routine is your protection from disorder. The modern contrast. Many modern families operate in a state of managed chaos. Schedules are fluid, bedtimes are suggestions, and mealtimes are often catch-as-catch-can. Sometimes this is unavoidable, but often it's a choice, a desire to be more spontaneous and fun than the rigid generations that came before. But this lack of structure can place a heavy burden on a child. With no predictable rhythm, the child must constantly adapt, which can create a low-grade, persistent anxiety. They may become more demanding or prone to meltdowns because they've never been given a consistent external structure to internalize. This can lead to adults who are uncomfortable with stability, sometimes drawn to drama because it feels familiar. They may struggle with self-discipline and time management because they lack the internal metronome that a structured childhood provides. They're always looking for an external system to organize their lives because an internal one was never built. The practical application. Building routine doesn't mean running a boot camp. It just means committing to a few key anchors in the day. 1. Anchor the day with meals. Whenever possible, eat at the same time each day, together as a family. This creates predictable moments of connection. The dinner table, as we'll see, is its own classroom. 2. Make bedtime a sacred ritual. The hour before bed should be a predictable wind-down period. No screens. It could be a bath, reading a book, and then lights out. The routine itself signals to the child's body and mind that it's time to rest. This is non-negotiable. 3. Systematize responsibilities. Instead of nagging a child to help, create a simple system. Maybe Saturday morning is for tidying rooms. Maybe clearing the table after dinner is a nightly task. This turns chores into a battle, into a simple fact of life. 4. Use the when-then structure. This simple formula creates order. When you've finished your homework, then you can have screen time. When your coat is hung up, then we can have a snack. It teaches natural consequences and personal responsibility. The scripts. The language of routine is gentle, firm, and assumes cooperation. When a child resists bedtime, instead of, "Just go to bed, you'll be tired tomorrow," try this. "It's 8 o'clock, time for bed. You can choose one more story, or we can talk for 5 minutes. Which will it be?" This offers a small choice within a non-negotiable boundary. When they complain about a routine task, instead of, "Stop complaining and just do it," try this. "I know you don't feel like setting the table right now. It's your contribution to the family. Let's get it done together, and then we can all eat." This acknowledges the feeling, but reinforces the duty. When the schedule is disrupted, like during travel, try this. Even though we're in a hotel, our bedtime routine stays the same. The routine helps us feel settled, even in a new place. This explicitly states the purpose of the routine as a source of comfort. The long-term outcome. Children who grow up with this predictable rhythm internalize that structure. They become adults who are organized, reliable, and self-disciplined. They don't panic when things get chaotic because their own habits keep them steady. The routine they once resisted becomes a source of focus and self-soothing. They understand on a deep level that structure isn't the enemy of freedom, but the architect of it. Rule number 4. Teach stewardship, not ownership. The 4th rule completely reframes a child's relationship with money and possessions. It's the crucial shift from seeing wealth as something you own to seeing it as something you manage. The philosophy? In the old money worldview, fortunes aren't made in one generation, they're stewarded across many. The core idea is that the current generation is merely a temporary custodian of the family's assets, values, and reputation. Their duty is not to consume the wealth, but to preserve and, ideally, grow it for the next generation. This creates a profound sense of responsibility and long-term thinking. The message is clear. This is not yours. You are simply its caretaker. This applies to everything from money to the family name. A child is told the story of the great-grandfather who sacrificed to build the business, or the grandmother whose prudent investments saved it during a downturn. The wealth is given a history and a soul. It's not just a number in a bank account, it's the physical result of generations of effort. This mindset of stewardship naturally cultivates humility and kills the entitlement that so often plagues inheritors. When you see yourself as a steward, your focus shifts from "what can this money do for me" to "what are my responsibilities to this money." It transforms wealth from a tool for personal gratification into an instrument of legacy. The modern contrast. Modern culture, driven by consumerism, champions ownership. You deserve it. Treat yourself. Success is measured by what you can acquire and display. For kids, this means a constant desire for the newest toy, the latest gadget. Parents, often wanting to give their children what they never had, can accidentally foster a mindset of entitlement. Money is often treated as a taboo subject, whispered about or argued over. Kids learn that money is a source of either conflict or instant gratification, but rarely a tool for long-term building. They grow up with a consumer mindset, not a capital-building one. Even if they become high earners, they may struggle to keep wealth because their default setting is to spend, not to steward. The practical application. Teaching stewardship starts early, and money is treated as a curriculum, not a secret. 1. The 3 jars. For young kids, this is the classic start. Use 3 clear jars labeled spending, saving, and giving. Any money they get is immediately divided among the 3. This teaches from day one that money has multiple purposes, and buying stuff is only one of them. 2. Narrate your financial decisions. Make money talk normal. In the grocery store, explain your choices. This one is a better value, which leaves more for our savings goal. Demystify money and frame it as a practical tool. 3. Capital first, cash second. This is a crucial mantra. Teach them the difference between cash, which disappears, and capital, assets that grow, like stocks or skills. Encourage a teen to use their summer job money to buy a few shares of a solid company rather than the most expensive new sneakers. 4. The family legacy ledger. For older kids who might one day inherit, some families create a symbolic ledger detailing the history of the family's wealth and the sacrifices of previous generations. It's a powerful, tangible reminder that they are part of a long chain of responsibility. The scripts. The language is transparent, educational, and value-driven. When giving an allowance, instead of "here's your pocket money," try "here's your commission for the work you did this week. Let's decide how you'll allocate it between your spending, saving, and giving goals." This reinforces money to effort and multiple purposes. When a child wants an expensive, trendy item, instead of "we can't afford that," try "that's an interesting choice. Let's look at the trade-off. The money for that could also buy 2 shares of the company that makes it. In 5 years, the item will be worthless, but the shares could be worth more. Which choice helps build for the future? This teaches long-term thinking and opportunity cost. When discussing charity, instead of "we should give to the poor," try this. Our family has a responsibility to support our community. We allocate resources to causes we believe in. Which area do you think is most important for us to contribute to this year? This frames giving as a strategic responsibility and involves them in the decision. The long-term outcome. Kids raised as stewards develop a remarkably healthy and powerful relationship with money. They're not afraid of it, nor are they enslaved by it. They understand how to create, preserve, and grow capital. They're less susceptible to conspicuous consumption because their self-worth isn't tied to what they own. They see themselves as a link in a chain, honoring the past and building for the future. Rule number 5. The dinner table is the first classroom. The 5th rule elevates a simple family meal into the primary institution for a child's intellectual and cultural growth. The dinner table isn't just for eating. It's where a life of the mind is first cultivated. The philosophy. While elite schools and tutors are common in old money circles, the most important education starts at home, specifically at the dinner table. This is a sanctuary for conversation, debate, and the exchange of ideas. The philosophy is that a child's curiosity is a muscle, and the dinner table is the gym where it gets exercised daily. Conversation is deliberately guided away from gossip and the mundane details of the day. Instead, it's focused on bigger topics: art, history, politics, science, ethics. Children aren't just allowed to join in, they're expected to participate. They learn to listen before they speak, to articulate their thoughts clearly, and to disagree respectfully. They learn how to build an argument, ask insightful questions, and see an issue from multiple angles. This instills a lifelong love of learning and a deep intellectual curiosity. It teaches them that the world of ideas is far more interesting and enduring than the world of things. It also gives them a rich cultural vocabulary that allows them to move confidently in any educated circle. More is caught than taught, and by being immersed in intelligent conversation, they absorb a level of knowledge and conversational skill that no classroom can replicate alone. The modern contrast. For too many modern families, the dinner table has been replaced by screens. If families do eat together, the TV is often on, or each person is scrolling through their phone. Conversation, if it happens at all, is usually limited to logistics. Who has practice tomorrow? This represents a colossal missed opportunity. When kids aren't exposed to challenging ideas and respectful debate at home, they can grow up with a passive and uncurious mind. They learn to be consumers of content, not creators of thought. They become uncomfortable with nuanced conversation, preferring the simplicity of memes and headlines. The silence of the dinner table becomes the silence of the mind. The practical application. Transforming your dinner table doesn't require a PhD. It just requires intention. Number 1, the no tech rule. This is the absolute non-negotiable first step. All screens, phones, tablets, TVs are off and out of sight. The focus is on the people in the room. Number 2, the question jar. To get things started, create a jar of open-ended, thought-provoking conversation starters. If you could solve one problem in the world, what would it be, and why? Or, what's a belief you hold that many people disagree with? Number 3, introduce a topic of the week. Choose a topic, a historical event, a scientific discovery, an artist, and sprinkle facts and questions about it into conversation throughout the week. It's a slow, steady drip of knowledge. Number 4, model respectful disagreement. When you and your partner or an older child disagree, show them how it's done. Use phrases like, "That's an interesting point, but I see it differently," or "Help me understand your perspective on that." This teaches that disagreement isn't a fight, it's a path to deeper understanding. The scripts. The goal is to draw your child out and value their contribution, no matter how simple. To encourage a quiet child, instead of, "Why are you so quiet?" try this. "We've been discussing topic. I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on it." This is a direct, respectful invitation that shows their opinion is valued. When a child gives a simplistic or wrong answer, instead of, "No, that's not right," try this. "That's a fascinating way to look at it. What led you to that conclusion?" This encourages them to explain their reasoning and gently guides them towards a more nuanced view without shaming them. To elevate the classic "How was school?" When a child says, "Fine," try this. "Tell me one thing that surprised you today." Or, "What was a question you had today that didn't get answered?" This pushes past the automatic response and into real substance.